A member of the Hockey Hall of Fame, Brian Leetch is one of the best Americans to ever play in the National Hockey League. He won the Norris Trophy, the league's award for its best defenseman, twice in his career. And he is still the only American to ever be named the most valuable player of the playoffs. Now, most of his success came with the New York Rangers, and Leetch grew up just a short trip north from his future home, Madison Square Garden. Brian, tell us about your childhood.
Well, we kind of moved around when I was born in Texas. My dad was in the Navy, and we were moving around a bit. I was born on a Naval Air Force Base in Corpus Christi. He moved to California, to Oregon, but I basically grew up in Connecticut since I was 6 years old. And my dad ended up becoming a manager of a skating center in Cheshire, Connecticut. And I grew up in a town with a lot of kids, and we learned all sports together, hockey and baseball, and grew up playing on the corner, so it was a great place to grow up.
What if you spent your whole youth in Texas? Think you would have been a hockey player?
I don't know. My dad loved hockey. He played through college. He was an All-American at Boston College. He's from Massachusetts. He actually tried out for the '64 Olympic team and was one of the last group cut there. So hockey was in his blood. I would call him a hockey lifer. So I certainly would have been introduced to it, but I loved playing baseball. I loved playing sports in general. So I probably would have gravitated to whatever was available and wherever the competition was. And who knows where it goes from there. I have no idea.
Your formative years moving around, what about school?
School was all in Connecticut from what I can remember, kindergarten all the way up, all in Cheshire. I went right through to my sophomore year in Cheshire, Connecticut. And our rink closed after my sophomore year in high school. And so my parents sat down with me and said, listen, you got a chance to go play hockey somewhere, get better academics, and you got a chance to get a college scholarship, if you can buckle down in academics and play some better competition. And, it's a hard decision as a kid in high school. You just, meeting friends that are juniors and seniors that are on your baseball team or your hockey team, and you're just trying to find your place in high school. Now you got to go do it again. So it was hard. It was an all-boys school I went to, but it ended up being a great decision for me.
Tell us about your sports in high school.
Yeah, and when I went to Avon, it's a prep school where they make you play sports every semester. So in the fall, I was able to get away with doing a conditioning sport. So it actually worked out well for me. I was able to go in and do circuits and weights and go out and be active, go rollerblading for hockey and get ready for that. In the winter, I played hockey, obviously, and then in the spring, I played baseball. So it worked out perfect for me on those fronts. Those were my two favorite sports, and there was no overlap. There was plenty of time for both of them.
From my experience in knowing prep school, you were in training in the fall, not playing a sport. That meant that they felt you had a future in professional sports.
Well, not really, because it was just a conditioning course. There were people in there that had never lifted a weight in their life, and kids that have come from a lot of different backgrounds. I was just lucky enough to fall under that. Otherwise, I would have been playing soccer or, playing a different football at that time. A lot of my teammates were doing the same thing. And I hadn't played them growing up except to have fun with, and it wasn't something I was looking forward to. So to be able to do that, and I got to meet some different guys in those classes that I wouldn't have.
The difference between high school and prep school, what is it?
Just another level up. Every time you go from your town to an all-star team, you're playing with better players against better competition. It just raises the level of play. Certainly school-wise and socially-wise, it was a huge difference. It was an all-boys school, coat and tie. I was washing dishes my junior year on Fridays, study halls. All that was the biggest shock. Playing the sports was the easy part. As it got better, it was more fun. Every pass you made, there was someone there to catch it. You went and made a play in baseball, you threw it to first, it was a bad throw, the guy scooped it up.
I'm assuming the washing the dishes, you must have been on some type of scholarship.
No scholarship.
No scholarship.
Everybody, all had jobs, everything, and for some reason, my first job junior year was dishwashing on Friday, which is the worst day. You don't want to get Fridays. That's breakfast, lunch, and dinner. By senior year, I was a sweeper, so that was a lot better. Sweeping was very easy.
Did you have a dream for both sports, hockey and baseball?
In that same type of way, you know, I probably played wiffle ball and stickball and things with my friends much more than I played street hockey. And you know, I had all the batting stances down and Mickey Rivers and you know, Reggie Jackson swing, and we'd go right-handed and left-handed, and you know, I did a lot more of that with my friends than I imagined hockey. But realistically, I knew that if there was ever going to be an opportunity, hockey draws from a smaller pool. I was much higher competition-wise than hockey at that point. That's probably where it was gonna lead. I was like, I got a chance at those Olympics. If I keep progressing, I'll be 18, heading into 19 years old for that tournament. And I thought, that's my goal. That's what I want to make. So I got drafted. When I got drafted in the first round, that's when I said, first rounder, you're going to get a chance to play professional hockey. They're not going to leave you out to dry.
To ride. Get the Mercedes-Benz on your wish list at the winter event going on now. But hurry, the offer ends soon.
If shopping for insurance were like shopping for diapers, you might think all these cost about the same, protect about the same. But what if you have an accident? Allstate Accident Forgiveness starts the day you sign up. These guys might make you wait a couple of years.
We can't wait a couple years.
No, you cannot.
Thanks.
Don't mention it. Shop less, get more. Make one call to an Allstate agent.
Call Allstate now, and you'll also get a free lifetime membership in Good Hands Roadside Assistance.
Is your computer running slowly? Does it take more than 3 seconds for your email to load? Are you frustrated with error messages, blue screens, computer freezes, and crashes? These are not only annoying, but can cause permanent damage to your computer. If you're experiencing any of these symptoms, your computer and your privacy may be at risk, because these are usually the telltale signs of a virus, and it can only get worse until you act. Get a free diagnosis at mycleanpc.com.
My Clean PC is outstanding, and my computer is running faster than ever.
My Clean PC came through with flying colors when no one else could.
My Clean PC totally cleaned up my system and increased my speed.
MyCleanPC.com can remove spyware, viruses, and infected emails, all speeding up your PC's performance. It offers all-in-one protection, and it's been downloaded by millions of users. Even if you have antivirus software, your computer could still be infected. Find out instantly with a free comprehensive diagnosis at MyCleanPC.com.
On the next beginnings, he was always the biggest kid on the ice.
I had to keep my eye on him because he was so big.
But even before Brian Boyle ever picked up a hockey stick, he was the biggest fan of the Boston Bruins.
When he was 18 months old, he'd sit and watch the tape of the Bruins and just say, "Score!"
See how it all started for Brian Boyle on The Next Beginnings, an all-new original series presented by Melrose Credit Union. Tomorrow on MSG.
Brian Leetch was drafted by the New York Rangers 9th overall in 1986. But instead of playing major junior hockey like most top picks, he decided to follow in his father's footsteps and play a year at Boston College. Everybody that goes to prep school has college on their mind. I'm assuming you were the same way. Tell us about it.
Yeah, and I was very lucky. My dad went to Boston College, and where we were in Cheshire, Connecticut, took me to a lot of games at Yale University, and I used to see the college teams come in, play college hockey, and I used to just be wide-eyed at the speed and the physical play and how exciting it was, and getting a broken stick from a Yale University player was a big deal. But once a year, Boston College would come in, and he'd go down to watch with his friends, and he'd bring me up to Boston to watch the college hockey tournament called the Bean Pot, which was a big deal. And in the back of my head, I was always like, wouldn't it be cool to go to Boston College, you know, where my dad went? And I'd always, the way some people follow Notre Dame or Michigan as a college, even though they don't have a relation. I had a relation to Boston College through my dad. And it was something that I was thinking about for a long time. And he actually made me take recruiting visits to other schools because he knew that I was leaning towards that direction anyway. So to have that opportunity to go there was great, and I had some friends that I had played with growing up that were already there ahead of me. So it was kind of a layup when the decision came.
Decision comes to go to BC, and I'm assuming it's still in the back of your mind, professional hockey. When did you say, okay, you know what? I can play professional hockey at a high level?
I was lucky enough in my senior year of high school, junior and senior year of high schools, to go overseas and play for the U.S. junior national team. That's an under-20 tournament they have in the winter. And I was the youngest on a couple of those teams, and I played with college players, and then I got drafted. And so in my mind, I was looking ahead to 1988. I was like, I got a chance at those Olympics. If I keep progressing, I'll be 18 heading into 19 years old for that tournament. And I thought, that's my goal. That's what I want to make. So I got drafted. When I got drafted in the first round, that's when I said, first rounder, you're going to get a chance to play professional hockey. They're not going to leave you out to dry. You're going to go to a training camp. You're going to have an opportunity to play and make that team. So that's when the two dreams kind of came together. One, the Olympic one that I thought was more realistic, and then the NHL one started to merge. So when I went to college, started to do well there, had tryouts for the national team a year ahead of time and made that. Had to take my sophomore year off to travel with the U.S. national team. That's when I said, you know, this is a real possibility.
What runs through your mind as a youngster? I mean, did you have a preference where you wanted to play hockey?
Well, there was a lot of talk and pressure growing up in Connecticut. The Hartford Whalers, you know, had a chance to go there. And I was actually nervous about it. I thought it would be great, but I was also nervous about being the hometown kid and having to deal with the expectations. And the Whalers were always a team that was fighting to get up to the top level. And it was always something that knocked them down, and there were always better teams. So they had made some statements that they weren't going to pick me anyway ahead of time. So that kind of took me off the hook a little bit. But it's also an insult, right? I mean, you grew up in Connecticut. Yeah, for sure. And there was another player, Craig Janney, who was in the same position I was, right in the first round, and they hadn't made their decision up whether they're going to pick him or not. So as it came down to it, the Rangers I had talked to just briefly. They do your interviews and they have some off-ice workouts, and the Rangers were just we met for an hour or so, and I went to their practice rink in Rye, New York, and they did some tests on me and did an interview, and they drove me home, and so they picked at number 9. I remember my dad gave me a little elbow, and we were in the Montreal Forum. He said, you never know from here on in what could happen, and sure enough, there was a little bit delay. You could see Phil Esposito was there, and Craig Patrick, and there's a lot of people talking about what was going to happen on the floor, and all of a sudden they announce your name, and I'm like, wow, I just got drafted by the New York Rangers, because it wasn't something that I actually thought. I thought I was going to go down further, and there were a lot of teams, you know, that I had no idea. I didn't know the cities, I didn't know the teams, and then all of a sudden the New York Rangers, and it just was kind of shocking at first that I was going to be close to home in the biggest city in the U.S., and that's where I had a chance to start my professional career. It was amazing. New York, I think, just has the best of everything. It can be suffocating if you let it, but no more so than a hockey-crazed Canada. And yet there's an escape from that because of all the other interests.
My electric bill was breaking the bank. So to save some money, I trained this team of guinea pigs to row this tiny boat. They generate electricity, which lets me surf the web all day. Took me 6 months to train each one, 8 months to get the little chubby one to yell row. It was kind of strange. Such a simple word. Row.
There's an easier way to save. Get online. Go to geico.com. Get a quote. 15 minutes could save you 15% or more on car insurance.
This is New York swagger. This is New York grit. This is New York hospitality. This is New York heart. This is New York hockey. This is the New York Rangers. Tickets on sale now.
4 of women's college basketball's top teams will tip off at the Garden. It's the Maggie Dixon Classic on Sunday, December 11th. First, Baylor battles St. John's. Then DePaul faces the 8-time national champions from the University of Tennessee, led by legendary coach Pat Summitt. Plus, Madison Square Garden will host the annual Maggie Dixon Heart Health Fair. Join us in celebrating the legacy of Maggie Dixon. Tickets are on sale now. For great seats, visit thegarden.com.
I'm your blind spot. And my job is easy. Hide big things. You're good. And if you named your own price on car insurance, you could be paying for this yourself. So get Allstate. You can save money and be better protected from mayhem. Like me.
Shop less, get more. Make one call to an Allstate agent.
In movies, I played the tough guy. But my son Danny, as stunt coordinator, was the real tough guy. Yet even he couldn't beat pancreatic cancer. That's why I support the Lustgarten Foundation. It's dedicated to finding a cure for this deadly disease. And Cablevision support ensures that 100% of every donation you make goes directly to pancreatic cancer research. In my son Danny's memory, join me in the fight. Visit curepc.org today. Thank you.
After their first week at the Garden, it's back to road rules for the Rangers, who look to even the score with the Senators. Rule number 1, there are no rules. Drop the puck. Rangers Senators, tonight on MSG.
Despite his status as a first-round draft choice and his experience with Boston College and the Olympic team, Brian Leetch still had to prove he was NHL material. He did just that, notching a point in his first game with the big club in 1988. It turned out to be a harbinger of things to come. When did you realize, once you get drafted and you started skating professionally, that you could play at a high level professionally?
I was, after the Olympics in '88, I played 17 games, I believe. That goes right into March and then April. We missed the playoffs. We were tied with points that year with 2 other teams, and we lost the tiebreaker on the last day. But in those 17 games, I knew that I could play. That the team had given me a lot of responsibility right away. I got a lot of ice time. They expected me to be an offensive guy that was gonna help out, to help create chances, create opportunities. And I was gonna learn the other parts of the game, you know, as I played and as I gained experience, but they needed me at that point, which was perfect for me. I felt that responsibility right away, and I saw the results right away. I was able to get some assists and get a couple goals. And so when I came in that next year, I knew that they were counting on me, and that's the best feeling as an athlete, is to be counted on, to be given that responsibility, and to be able to be excited about being that type of player. So it happened pretty quick. I was confident coming off the Olympics that I could compete, and after those 6 weeks, I was confident that I could help the Rangers be successful.
Is it a whole lot different playing for the Rangers than other organizations, although you played for a storied franchise in Boston too?
Mm-hmm. Well, it's a hard one for me to say. I mean, I played my first game as a 19-year-old in New York, and my last one as a Ranger on my 36th birthday is when I got traded. So, you know, I went from a wide-eyed NHL rookie as well as a, you know, new to Manhattan, you know, and grew into a man and into being married and having kids, all in New York City. So I would hear what other players said about coming from different organizations. I realized how lucky I was with the Rangers and how well they treated their players, you know, from your equipment people that worked for you, your facilities, your travel, was all top notch. But the expectations, I don't know. I went to Toronto for 3 months, or not even 3 months, but 2 months, and that was a whole different way to look at hockey. That was hockey, hockey, hockey all the time. You know, front page, back page, 3 pages in, was all hockey. And I don't know how I would have done starting out my career there. New York, you still have the other major sports that are all big deal, as well as entertainment and fashion. And, you know, hockey is just a very small part of that. in Montreal and Quebec and in Toronto, Calgary. That's the main deal. So I would say there's a lot of pressure in those Canadian cities to be a hockey player. New York, I think, just has the best of everything. It can be suffocating if you let it, but no more so than a hockey-crazed Canada. And yet there's an escape from that because of all the other interests.
Growing up, who was your favorite team?
Yeah, well, growing up in Connecticut, we saw the Whalers. We were outside the New York TV viewing area, so I didn't see a lot of those games. And then we finally started to get Bruin telecasts as I got into high school. And I used to watch Ray Bourque all the time. I used to say, wow, now there's a defenseman. You know, I used to look at him as my Bobby Orr. I didn't get to see Bobby play except for highlight tapes. And his highlight tapes were things I couldn't understand the defenseman doing, the way he could dominate a game. But when I looked at Ray, I said, wow, look at the way this guy plays. You know, that's something else. And so I always kept an eye on Boston. I ended up going to Boston College. All my friends were from the Boston area, Bruins fans and everything. So there was always, I always knew what the Bruins were doing, what was going on with them. And luckily, it's not the same in hockey, New York-Boston rivalry, as in baseball, as in some of the other sports. So when I had the opportunity to go there after the lockout, it was something I was excited about, extremely excited about. I didn't want to travel somewhere else. They showed interest. I told my agent, I said, let's get this done. I don't care what the final number is going to be. I want to be a Bruin this year. 94 Stanley Cup was something special. You know, all the players that you went through the ups and downs with, and being able to have that accomplishment and do that parade. I could have done that parade for a week.
Thanksgiving is a time for compassion.
Your dad and I went to the soup kitchen and they gave us Otto.
And what about tomorrow night?
Otto's gonna go back home. Listen.
A time for company.
I'll take a bath and I'll meet you downstairs.
Don't forget your sweat shadow and then burn those sheets.
And a time for chaos.
How's everybody's gobble gobble day? Oh!
This Friday.
Have a great time.
Spend Thanksgiving with Jack and Jill.
This is really awkward. I'm gonna go.
Jack and Jill, rated PG.
I'm a ref being chased out of town after the worst game of my career. You forget one down and the whole stadium turns on you. And if you have cut rate insurance, it may not pay for all this. So get Allstate. You can save money and be better protected from mayhem, like me.
Shop less, get more. Make one call to an Allstate agent.
Some people just know how to build things well. Give you and your loved ones an expertly engineered Mercedes-Benz at the winter event going on now. But hurry, the offer ends soon.
CyberKnife by far is the biggest breakthrough in prostate cancer treatment in over a decade. There's no cutting, there's no pain. It's 5 visits. You start on a Monday, you finish on a Friday, and then you're done. There's no incontinence and less chance of impotence with CyberKnife. It's so effective because it's so precise. There's nothing experimental about CyberKnife. It's FDA approved, it's covered by insurance, it's covered by Medicare.
To learn more about CyberKnife or to meet with Dr. Haas, call 1-866-WINTHROP or go to winthrop.org.
Life is full of dreams and disappointment. We've got professionals on call to help you cope. Boomer and Carton from 6 to 10 on MSG. Dan Patrick from 10 to 1 on MSG Plus.
I can't take it.
They know your fears and understand your needs.
It's New York, big boy.
You better get yourself a helmet.
Boomer and Carton, 6 to 10 on MSG. Dan Patrick, 10 to 1 on MSG Plus. They're here for you.
Rangers Senators, tonight on MSG.
In 1994, Brian Leetch became the most valuable part of a hockey team that had a date with destiny. During the New York Rangers playoff run to their first Stanley Cup title in 54 years, Leetch compiled 11 goals and 23 assists and proved He was made for the city where the spotlight shines the brightest. If you were to pick one thing in your career that you're proudest of on a personal level and the other team level.
Well, team level's easy. That 94 Stanley Cup was something special. You know, all the players that you went through the ups and downs with, and being able to have that accomplishment and do that parade. I could have done that parade for a week straight, just going around in a circle and just kept doing it. So that was special personally. I guess that, you know, that my coaches and my teammates gave me the responsibility in ice time and the way they looked at me to help them be successful. And for the most part, just about every night I went out and tried to do that. And when I didn't, you know, it hurt me that I had let them down. So I think that's the one thing as an individual that I'm most proud of.
Was your personality made for New York?
Well, I don't know if there is a personality for New York, except you can't fear it. And I lived outside the city with the family for my first year in the league because the team wanted me to. But after that first year, I remember thinking to myself, I got to live in Manhattan. I got to see what this is like before I get traded or something happens, and I'll be kicking myself the rest of my career that I never was in Manhattan. So I kind of moved down to Manhattan when our management was in flux. Our GM had gotten fired and our coach had gotten fired, and no one had been hired yet. And I actually went in and bought a place, and no one was living in Manhattan at that time. So I was 21 years old and just moved in. And I remember when they had hired Neil Smith and Roger Nielsen after that, I remember Neil came up to me and my agent and said, you know, we'd like Brian to move out of the city. And and they're like, well, no, we bought a place. I got a mortgage. You know, I can't just sell it now. And he's like, oh, I thought you were renting. So it made it easier when Messier came a year and a half later, and he moved right into the city. He had no questions about it. And then guys slowly started coming back to the city. And by the time I left, we had 3/4 of the team living in Manhattan.
It's interesting we're talking about that because I know years ago they would encourage guys, look at if you really want to, you know, enjoy the experience like you did, live in Manhattan. Of course, back then a lot of players couldn't afford Manhattan, but you know, guys like Rusty Staub in Manhattan, Reggie Jackson lived in Manhattan. So guys that took advantage of it, and it seemed they were more embraced by New York because of that.
Yeah, I think that helps. And they also, the Rangers went through a time before I was there where some guys were getting in trouble, you know, off the ice and away from it. And if you're going to get in trouble, there's no better place to be than in Manhattan. I mean, the choices are endless and the hours are endless. So it can happen. I think that was the organization's attempt to pull everyone back. But the reality is you can get in trouble anywhere. You can get in trouble, you know, right down the street from your house in the suburbs. So I think once, you know, the new group got used to that idea of everybody being in there and saw that it wasn't a problem and saw the personalities of the players they had on the team, it wasn't. But I agree with you. You know, we would take the subway down to the rink before the games in the afternoon, and you know, you say hi to people as you go in, and you know, see the same people walk into your corner stores, and you know, it is definitely brings you closer to the people that come to the building every day.
You ever look back and think, well, if I was drafted by the Whalers, how would your life be different?
Yeah, absolutely, all the time. It's one of those questions that, you know, you could think about forever, and it doesn't really change anything. So once I start thinking about it, it just kind of shut it off because I just feel fortunate the way it worked out. And when I look back on my career in New York and being a part of that team that won the Stanley Cup after 54 years, and the friendships and everything that comes with being a person that lives in Manhattan for 18 years, and it's just amazing.
MSG Network, New York plays here.